Jurassic Park. Dinosaurs are fucking cool, man. So, Jurassic Park, one of the greatest films of all time, and you know that I'm obsessed with cinema, even more so than I am with literature. So I thought, now that I'm a big reader, why not take a dive into one of the most iconic stories of my childhood, Jurassic Park, and see what the source material had to offer. And boy, oh boy, was I freaking loving it. The book Jurassic Park follows an identical plot outline of the film. A corporation called InGen has decided to use dinosaur DNA to create a zoological park and tourist attraction where they can interact with and view dinosaurs that were once extinct, and they've been brought back to life. But of course, when you play God, things can go very, very awry. The book features a wide range of characters, and many from the film who were only brief cameos or subtle side characters have a great deal more to do in this book. Standouts are Ian Malcolm, Muldoon, Mr. Arnold, Gennaro, and Ed Regis. These are characters who had very minor plots in the book, or in the film, and are massive characters in the book that help us drive the main storyline. And that was probably one of my favorite things about it. I loved learning about all the different characters and their motives. Speaking of motives, that leads me to another thing. There are a great deal of subplots in the book that are missing from the film that I was absolutely in love with. Primarily, dinosaurs escaping the island is a massive event in the book. In fact, we start off with Procompsognathus attacking a little girl, and I believe that scene was reused in The Lost World. The film adaptation, that is. We learn all about scientists on land investigating the strange creature that attacked this little girl and being unable to identify it, and Grant learning about the possibilities of dinosaurs in the modern world. And we also learn about Nedry's motives a little bit more. He's another character from the film who we learn so much more about in the book, such as he was an overworked worker who was often neglected by the cruel and evil Dr. Hammond. And he is someone who's also massively different. Hammond in the book is a good intent and kind-hearted man who is blinded by his own sort of ignorance and enthusiasm, whereas the Hammond in the book is pure business, pure money, very bad person who wants to make a quick buck, but he also does care about capturing children's imaginations, he says, but he's way too blinded by it to accept any wrongdoing, and even up till his bitter end, he is delusional in thinking the park can still reopen. But regarding Nedry's storyline, I just thought it was so awesome. We learn much more about, what's his name?
Dodgson! We've got Dodgson here!
Dodgson. And he was actually working for a rival company, and they wanted to reverse engineer the embryos and beat Hammond to the punch of getting dinosaurs out to the public. It was so exciting. And other characters that were standouts that we got to learn much more about were Ed Regis. We see him for about 2 seconds in the film driving the truck, but he actually kind of takes the place of the film Gennaro, being the kind of slimeball guy who's just there to do a job and who doesn't care for the kids and actually abandons them. Gennaro in the book is a total badass, and I love Gennaro's character. I thought he was super super He even squares off with some velociraptors at points, and he's a guy I had a great deal of respect for. And Muldoon, who's also super sick. He's out there fighting Tyrannosaurus Rex with his tranquilizer gun. Just so many awesome moments with them. And Gennaro was a standout character for me. And Muldoon always says, "You want to live dangerously?" And Gennaro says, "Nope, but I guess I'm going to anyway, because what other choice do we have?" And I thought that was super awesome. Tim and Lex are great characters as well. My God, was Lex ever annoying in this book, though. She's much younger in the book, younger than Tim. And all she does is go, "Timmy," and scream and make noise when she's not supposed to. And she's really a great device to raise the stakes of the characters. And, there are so many great encounters that are... In fact, once they get to the island after the Tyrannosaurus attacks the Jeeps, almost nothing is the same in the book as it is in the film, which is great because, I don't want to come here for a retelling of the film. I want to experience a new and engaging, fresh story that I can really sink my teeth into. And, there are stuff I heard so much about, such as the river raft and also the aviary scene. But that brings me one of the negatives of the book. I found a great deal of times there were so many great moments that were really high tension, super exciting stuff, and they just all of a sudden end. For example, the aviary scene, in which we see Tim, Lex, and Dr. Grant go into a massive pterodactyl enclosure, and then that scene is reused in Jurassic Park 3. When they're in this enclosure, the pterodactyls attack the children and Dr. Grant, And it's like this high stakes. It's like, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? What are they going to do? And the pterodactyls just fly off. Like, oh, okay. Well, like, maybe Grant had to chase one down and it picked up. Like, I think the pterodactyl attack in Jurassic Park 3 is much more effective than it is in this book, because in this book, it's like, oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Oh, the dinosaurs just leave. And that happens a few times where high stakes events just sort of fizzle out. We also get new encounters that are really fresh and exciting, such as the Tyrannosaurus poking its giant snout through the waterfall crevice that the kids are hiding out. And I loved that scene so much. And yeah, there's just a great deal of stuff like that. But so the only negative is sometimes events just sort of solve themselves out of nowhere, and it's the characters don't really have anything to do with it. And I want to see the characters actively engaged and working towards a solution. But no, overall the book was phenomenal, and I loved everything about it. And definitely the standout thing was how often the new character, or the characters who had little to do in the book, had their own shining moments. And I really liked Wu trying to talk about maybe we should make these dinosaurs a bit more docile and approachable to the guest, because, you know, it's not like these are real dinosaurs anyway. We're combining them with DNA, and Hammond won't hear any of it. Go, no, you're trying to make dinosaurs better than the real thing. No. But Wu is saying we can make them more docile, so in the event of a breakout, you know, nothing's going to happen, and Hammond won't hear a word of it. And Wu's trying to get it through his head that these are not real. These are artificial creations through and through, and Hammond is just totally blind to the fact that that they're artificial and that they're already being tampered with. He sees them as nothing more than the real thing, and he's out of his mind, and he can't accept it. Hammond was so delusional in this book. I thought it was great. But yeah, overall, every character was just so awesome, and I love seeing all the new fresh experiences. So if you haven't read the book, I've basically just spoiled all the new stuff for you, so I'm sorry about that, but it's a great read, clocking in at about 450 pages. I finished this in about 3 days. I was hooked onto it. And one of the things I noticed, though, is that Crichton is a very simple, straightforward writer, and after reading about 9 King books straight, where King is like, one scene in a King book takes about 200 pages to get through, you know? Someone will walk into your room, and he'll be like, oh, he looked at her and he saw her eyes. The reason her eyes looked like that were because in 1986, 5,000 years ago, her grandmother once said to her that she shouldn't do this. And the thing about her grandmother is, and it's like we get backstory upon backstory, and we forget where we even are, and then the scene picks up, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're in a scene right now. Whereas in Jurassic Park, it's very much, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. But this book has really sparked up my interest in paleontology and dinosaurs. So it's a very straightforward, thrilling read. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and you know, I tore through it. It was 450 pages. I went through it in 3 days, so obviously I recommend it. It is just tremendous, and it ends on a big old cliffhanger, which which makes me want to read The Lost World very much, even though I've heard very bad reviews about it. So yeah, and all in all, my review is all positive. I thought it was a great book, and I'm just sort of spitting off thoughts here. I didn't write too much down because, well, I didn't write anything down because I just wanted to kind of get this out. It was fresh in my mind, but a great read, and really awesome, especially even if you've seen the film. That might even help your reading of this instead of hindering it, because nothing is the same, and it's presenting you with all these fresh takes on characters and ideas, and you're like, oh wow, I never thought of that aspect, and stuff's really going to surprise you, and character deaths are going to surprise you, and characters that lived are going to surprise you, because it's really flipped on its head. So all in all, I greatly recommend this book, and yeah, I just think it was a thrill and a half. Michael Crichton knocked it out of the park. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and as always, have a great day.